Episode 4, Reckoning. The night began like any other, a quiet evening in the Huga household. Jasmine had just finished dinner with Lila and May, the three of them sharing laughter and stories, a rare moment of joy in their otherwise tumultuous lives. They had been working hard to rebuild their sense of normalcy, but the shadows of their father still loomed large. As they cleaned up, Jasmine felt a sense of unease settle in the pit of her stomach. It was a feeling she couldn't shake, as if something terrible was about to happen. She brushed it off, focusing instead on her sisters, who were animatedly discussing their plans for the weekend. "Let's go to the park tomorrow," Lila suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We can have a picnic and just enjoy the day." "Sounds perfect," Jasmine replied, forcing a smile despite the nagging feeling in her gut. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jasmine decided to take a walk to clear her head. She slipped on her jacket and stepped outside, the cool night air hitting her face. The streets were quiet, the only sounds being the distant hum of traffic and the rustle of leaves in the wind. But as she wandered, her thoughts turned dark. She couldn't shake the feeling that their father was slipping further into madness. She had heard him shouting at the walls earlier, his voice filled with a rage that sent shivers down her spine. What if he lost control one day? What if he took it out on them? Lost in her thoughts, Jasmine barely noticed the car speeding down the street until it was too late. She turned just in time to see the headlights blinding her, and before she could react, the vehicle slammed into her, sending her flying through the air. The world spun as she hit the ground, pain exploding through her body. Dazed and gasping for breath, she struggled to comprehend what had just happened. The car screeched to a halt, and the driver, a young man with bloodshot eyes, stumbled out, his expression a mix of shock and panic. "Oh my God, what did I do?" he shouted, his voice trembling. Instead of helping, he turned and ran, leaving Jasmine lying in the street, her vision blurring. "Help, someone, please," she cried, but her voice barely rose above a whisper. Darkness began to creep in at the edges of her vision, and she felt her body growing cold. As she lay there, her thoughts raced. What about Lila and Mai? They were home alone, unaware of the horror unfolding outside. She needed to get back to them. She couldn't leave them like this. In the distance, she heard sirens approaching, but they seemed so far away, as if they were coming from another world. Just as her consciousness began to slip away, she felt a surge of determination. No, she wouldn't let this be the end. She would fight. When the paramedics arrived, they worked quickly, their voices a blur of urgency. "Stay with me, Jasmine," one of them said, applying pressure to her wounds. "We're going to get you to the hospital." As they loaded her into the ambulance, Jasmine felt a flicker of hope. She could survive this. She had to survive this. But as the lights of the ambulance flashed by, she felt the darkness pulling her under once again. Jasmine awoke in a hospital bed, the sterile smell of antiseptic filling her nostrils. Panic surged through her as she tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body, forcing her back down. "Lila, May," she called out, her voice hoarse and weak. A nurse rushed in, her expression a mix of concern and compassion. "You're going to be okay, Jasmine. You were in an accident, but you're safe now." "Where are my sisters?" Jasmine gasped, fear tightening around her heart. "They're fine. They're at home," the nurse reassured her, but Jasmine could see the worry in her eyes. "You need to rest now. You've been through a lot." But Jasmine couldn't rest. The image of the driver's face haunted her, the look of indifference as he fled the scene. Rage bubbled within her. He had taken everything from her, and now he was free to live his life while she lay here fighting for hers. As days passed, Jasmine's condition improved, but her mind was consumed with thoughts of revenge. She couldn't just let this go. She needed to make him pay for what he had done. With the help of her sisters, who visited every day, Jasmine began to piece together a plan. She learned everything she could about the driver, a spoiled kid named Tyler who had been drinking and driving. He thought he could get away with it, but Jasmine would make sure he faced the consequences. One night, after a particularly painful day of physical therapy, Jasmine made her decision. She would confront Tyler. She didn't need a gun. She would use a knife. It would be personal, a way to show him the pain he had caused. With determination coursing through her veins, she gathered her sisters. "We're going to find him," she said, her voice steady. "I need you both to trust me." Lila looked concerned, but May nodded, her eyes fierce with loyalty. "We're with you, Jasmine, whatever it takes." The following night, they set out, Jasmine's heart racing. They tracked Tyler down to a party at a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of town. As they approached, the thumping bass of music vibrated through the air, and Jasmine felt a rush of adrenaline. Inside, the atmosphere was chaotic, filled with laughter and shouts. Jasmine spotted Tyler across the room, a drink in hand, surrounded by friends. The sight of him ignited a fire within her. "Stay close," she whispered to her sisters as they moved through the crowd. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing her resolve. When they reached him, Jasmine's breath caught in her throat. Tyler turned, surprised to see her. "What are you doing here?" he slurred, a smirk playing on his lips. "You think you can just walk away?" Jasmine hissed, pulling out the knife she had hidden in her jacket. "You took everything from me!" Before he could react, she lunged forward, but in that moment, chaos erupted. Someone bumped into her, throwing off her aim. The knife grazed Tyler's arm instead of plunging into his heart. He howled in pain, stumbling back as the crowd gasped. Jasmine felt a surge of panic as people began to scatter, some screaming, others rushing to help Tyler. "Jasmine, we have to go," Lila shouted, grabbing her arm, but Jasmine couldn't move. She watched as Tyler clutched his bleeding arm, fear replacing the arrogance in his eyes. "You'll pay for this," he yelled, but Jasmine didn't care. She had made her point. Suddenly, a sharp pain pierced her side, and Jasmine looked down to see blood soaking through her shirt. She hadn't realized that in the chaos, she had been injured. The world began to spin as the adrenaline faded, replaced by a wave of exhaustion. "Jasmine!" May screamed, her voice distant as she fell to the ground. The last thing Jasmine saw was the panic in her sister's eyes before darkness enveloped her. When Jasmine opened her eyes again, she was back in the hospital, the sterile smell of antiseptic filling her nostrils once more. But this time, something felt different. A heaviness settled in her chest, and as she looked around, she realized she was alone. "Lila? May?" she called weakly, but there was no response. Panic surged through her as she tried to move, but pain shot through her body, and she collapsed back onto the bed. A doctor entered, his expression grave. "Jasmine, you've been through a traumatic experience. You lost a lot of blood, and your injuries are serious. We're doing everything we can. Where are my sisters?" She gasped, fear gripping her heart. "They unfortunately did not make it," he told her with melancholy. "But you need to focus on your recovery." Jasmine, shocked by the news and unable to voice any words, felt the darkness creeping in again. She had sought revenge, but it had cost her dearly. As the doctor spoke, her vision blurred and she felt herself slipping away. In her final moments, Jasmine thought of her sisters, the love they shared, and the life they had fought so hard to build. She had wanted to protect them, but instead she had put them in danger. As the darkness closed in, Jasmine felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had fought for her life and her family, and in that fight, she had found her strength. She hoped that wherever she was going, she would find them again. And then, silence.